I was standing in a hospital room holding my newborn twins when a man in an expensive suit walked in and placed a briefcase full of cash on the table next to me, and I said, "Keep your money." And he pointed to the two tiny cribs where my babies were sleeping and said, "It's not money, it's protection." My name is Emma Rodriguez. I'm 29 years old, and 3 months ago I gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, after a one-night stand with a man I barely knew. But that man turned out to be Gabriel Santos, the heir to one of the most powerful families in Miami, and the night he showed up at the hospital was the night everything in my life changed, forever. Let me go back to the beginning, because none of this makes sense without understanding how I ended up pregnant and alone in a city where I knew almost no one. I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, the youngest of 4 kids in a loud, chaotic Puerto Rican family. My parents owned a bodega and worked every day, including weekends and holidays, to keep us fed and clothed. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I got a scholarship to study nursing at a state school, and after graduation, I moved to Miami for a job at Jackson Memorial Hospital. The pay was good, and I loved the work. But Miami was expensive, and I was drowning in student loans. I lived in a tiny apartment in Hialeah with 2 roommates who were never home. I worked 12-hour shifts of the hospital, came home exhausted, ate whatever was in the fridge, and did it all over again the next day. I didn't have time for a social life, didn't have time for dating, didn't have time for anything except work and sleep. Then one night, about 10 months ago, everything changed. It was a Friday, and I had just finished a particularly brutal shift. A car accident had brought in 3 patients, all critical, and I had spent hours helping the trauma team trying to save them. We lost one of them, a teenage girl. I didn't even know her name, but I couldn't stop thinking about her family, about how fragile life was. I went home, showered, and realized I couldn't just sit in my apartment alone with my thoughts. I needed to get out, to be around people, to feel alive. So I did something I never did. I went to a bar. It was a place in Brickell that my roommate had mentioned, upscale, lots of young professionals. I put on a dress that I hadn't worn in months, did my makeup, and took an Uber into the city. The bar was crowded and loud. I ordered a vodka soda and stood near the wall, watching people laugh and flirt and dance. I felt out of place. I was about to leave when someone bumped into me, spilling my drink all over my dress. "I'm so sorry," a voice said, and I looked up to see a man, probably in his early 30s, with dark hair and darker eyes, holding a napkin. "It's fine," I said, taking the napkin, even though my dress was soaked. "Let me buy you another drink," he said. "You don't have to." "I want to," he said. "I'm Gabriel." "Emma," I said. We went to the bar, and he ordered me another vodka soda and a whiskey for himself. We started talking, and I was surprised by how easy it was. He asked about my work and actually listened when I told him about the hospital, about the patients, about the girl we had lost that day. He didn't give me the usual responses people gave when I talked about death. He didn't say, "She's in a better place," or "Everything happens for a reason." He just said, "That sounds really hard." And somehow, that was exactly what I needed to hear. I asked what he did, and he was vague. "Business," he said. "Family business. Import, export." I didn't press for details. We talked for hours. About Miami, about growing up, about our families. He had a way of making me feel like I was the only person in the room. When the bar started closing around 2 a.m., he asked if I wanted to get out of there. I should have said no. I should have gone home, gotten some sleep, prepared for my next shift. But I didn't want the night to end. So I said yes. We went back to his place, which turned out to be a penthouse apartment overlooking Biscayne Bay. The view was incredible, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city lights reflected in the water. "This is amazing," I said. He poured us wine, and we sat on his balcony talking under the stars. And then we weren't just talking anymore. We were kissing, and then we were in his bedroom, and I wasn't thinking about the girl who died or my student loans or my exhausting job. I was just living in that moment, feeling wanted and alive. I woke up the next morning in his bed, alone. There was a note on the pillow. "Had to leave early for work. Coffee in the kitchen. Help yourself to anything." It was signed with just a G. I got dressed, found the coffee, and left. I never expected to see him again. That was fine with me. It had been one night, a good night, but just one night. I went back to my regular life. Work, sleep, repeat. Except 3 weeks later, I started feeling nauseous. At first, I thought it was stress or maybe food poisoning, but when the nausea didn't go away after a week, I took a pregnancy test. It was positive. I took 3 more tests, all positive. I was pregnant. I sat on my bathroom floor holding those pregnancy tests, feeling like my entire world was crumbling. I was 29 years old, working a demanding job, barely making ends meet. I had no savings, no support system in Miami, and I was pregnant from a one-night stand with a man whose last name I didn't even know. I considered my options. I could have an abortion, I could have the baby and give it up for adoption, or I could keep it and figure out how to raise a child alone. I thought about it for 2 weeks. I made lists of pros and cons. I talked to exactly no one because I was too ashamed to tell my family or my roommates or anyone at work. Finally, I made my decision. I was going to keep the baby. I didn't know how I would manage, but I would figure it out. That's when I went for my first ultrasound. The technician was quiet as she moved the wand across my stomach. "Is everything okay?" I asked, getting nervous. "Everything's fine," she said, "but there's something you should know." "What?" "You're having twins." "I'm sorry, what?" "Twins," she said, pointing to the screen. "See, there's baby A and there's baby B. 2 healthy heartbeats." I stared at the screen, feeling faint. Twins. Not 1 baby, but 2. I was going to have 2 babies. Alone, with no money and no help. I somehow made it through the rest of the appointment. The doctor gave me pamphlets about prenatal care and nutrition and told me to come back in 4 weeks. I walked out of the clinic in a daze. I sat in my car and I cried. Not gentle tears, but full-body sobs. This was too much. I couldn't do this. But even as I cried, I knew I didn't have a choice. These babies were coming, whether I was ready or not. Over the next few months, I worked as much as I could. I picked up extra shifts, saved every penny, tried to prepare. My roommates noticed I was pregnant, and one of them moved out, not wanting to live with babies. I couldn't blame her. The other roommate, Sarah, was more supportive. She helped me look for baby supplies at thrift stores and came with me to ultrasound appointments. I finally told my family. My mother cried. My father was silent. My siblings had mixed reactions. 2 of them were supportive. 1 told me I was making a mistake, and 1 just stopped talking to me. My mother wanted me to come home to New York, to have the babies there where family could help. But I had my job, my apartment, my life in Miami. I told her I would manage. I never tried to find Gabriel. I didn't know his last name, didn't know where he worked, didn't even have his phone number. And part of me didn't want to find him. This was my responsibility. I had made the choice to sleep with him, made the choice to keep the babies. I would handle it myself. The pregnancy was hard. Twins meant twice the weight, twice the exhaustion, twice the morning sickness. I worked until I was 7 months pregnant and then had to go on early leave because my blood pressure was too high. Without my income, I burned through my savings in 3 weeks. I applied for state assistance, got approved for WIC and Medicaid. It wasn't enough, but it was something. At 8 months pregnant, I went into early labor. Sarah drove me to the hospital where I worked, and suddenly I was the patient instead of the nurse. My coworkers took care of me, which was both comforting and humiliating. The labor was long, 32 hours. The babies were both breech, so I needed a C-section. When they finally pulled my son out and then my daughter, I heard them cry and felt relief wash over me. They were here. They were alive. They were mine. The nurse brought them to me wrapped in hospital blankets. My son had dark hair, like Gabriel. My daughter had my nose. They were tiny, perfect, beautiful. "What are their names?" the nurse asked. I hadn't decided yet. I had been so focused on just surviving the pregnancy that I hadn't thought about names. I looked at my son. "Daniel," I said after my grandfather. "And my daughter?" "Sophia," after my grandmother. Daniel and Sofia Rodriguez. The first few days were a blur of feeding and changing diapers and trying to figure out how to care for 2 newborns at once. Sarah came to visit and brought supplies. Some of my coworkers stopped by with gifts. My mother called every day, offering again to come down or to have me bring the babies to New York. I told her I was fine, even though I wasn't. On the 3rd day, I was sitting in my hospital room, trying to nurse both babies at once when there was a knock on the door. A man I didn't recognize walked in. He was probably in his 50s, wearing an expensive suit and carrying a briefcase. "Can I help you?" I asked, pulling my hospital gown closed. "Are you Emma Rodriguez?" he asked. "Yes." "I'm here on behalf of Gabriel Santos," he said. My heart stopped. "Gabriel? You know Gabriel?" I asked. "Mr. Santos is my employer," he said. "He recently learned about the birth of his children." "His children?" I repeated. "So he knows." "He knows," he said, "and he sent me to make arrangements." "What kind of arrangements?" The man set the briefcase on the table and opened it. Inside were stacks of cash. More cash than I had ever seen in my life. "Mr. Santos wants to ensure that you and the children are taken care of," he said. "This is $50,000 for immediate expenses. There will be more." I stared at the money. "Keep your money," I said. "Excuse me?" "I don't want his money," I said. "I took care of myself through the pregnancy, and I'll take care of myself now." "Ms. Rodriguez," the man said, "this isn't just about money. These children are Gabriel Santos's heirs. That means they're targets." "Targets? For what?" "For anyone who wants to hurt the Santos family," he said. "And there are many people who do." "What are you talking about?" I asked, feeling confused and stared. "Who is Gabriel?" The man looked at me with something like pity. "You really don't know, do you?" "Know what?" "Gabriel Santos is the heir to the Santos organization," he said, "one of the most powerful families in Miami. They control shipping, logistics, and various other business interests throughout Florida and the Caribbean." "You're saying he's a criminal," I said. "I'm saying he's powerful," the man replied, "and power comes with enemies." "My children." I looked at the cribs where Daniel and Sofia were sleeping. "Are they in danger?" "Not if they're protected," he said. "That's why Mr. Santos sent me. He wants to move you and the children to a secure location." "Absolutely not," I said. "You don't have a choice." "Yes, I do," I said. "I'm their mother, and I'm not going anywhere with you." The man sighed. "Ms. Rodriguez, please understand. The moment Gabriel Santos claimed these children as his, their lives changed. Whether you accept his help or not, they are now part of this world. The best thing you can do is let us keep them safe." I felt panic rising. "I don't even know if he's really their father," I said. "We have a paternity test ready whenever you're willing," he said, "but I think you know the truth." I did know. Daniel looked exactly like Gabriel. There was no question. "Get out," I said. "Ms. Rodriguez?" I said, "Get out. I need to think." The man nodded and left his card on the table next to the briefcase full of cash. "When you're ready to talk," he said, "call this number." After he left, I sat there staring at that money. $50,000. It could pay off half my student loans. It could cover rent for a year. It could buy everything the babies needed. But I couldn't take it, because taking it meant accepting that my children were part of something I didn't understand, something dangerous. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about what the man had said, that Daniel and Sofia were targets, that they needed protection. I looked at my babies sleeping peacefully in their cribs, and I felt terrified. The next morning, another visitor arrived. This time, it was Gabriel himself. He walked into my hospital room, and I felt my breath catch. He looked exactly like I remembered, tall, dark hair, those intense eyes. But now there was something else in his expression. Concern, maybe? Or fear. "Emma," he said. "Gabriel." "I saw them," he said. "Our children." "How?" "I've had someone watching the hospital," he admitted, "making sure you were safe." "You've been watching me?" "For the past month," he said, "once I found out you were pregnant." "How did you find out?" "I saw you," he said, "about 4 months ago, at the grocery store. You were very obviously pregnant, and I couldn't stop thinking about the timing, so I looked into it." "You investigated me?" "I needed to know," he said, "if they were mine. And now you know?" "Yes," he said, "and now I need you to listen to me." I crossed my arms. "I'm listening." "My family," he began, "isn't like other families. We have money and power, but that comes with risks. There are people, rival organizations, who would love to hurt me by hurting my children." "What kind of organizations?" I asked. "The kind you don't want to know about," he said. "The kind that don't follow rules. Emma, I need you to let me protect you, all 3 of you." "I don't need your protection," I said. "Yes, you do," he said. "You just don't know it yet. I can take care of my own children." "Can you?" he asked. "Can you protect them from men with guns? Can you protect them from people who would kidnap them to get to me? Can you even afford to feed them properly on your salary?" I felt tears starting. "That's not fair." "None of this is fair," he said, "but it's reality. I'm not asking you to like me or forgive me for not being there. I'm asking you to put aside your pride and do what's best for our children." "What are you proposing?" I asked. "Move in with me," he said, "into my home, where there's security, where they'll be safe." "Live with you?" "You'd have your own space," he said, "your own suite. You wouldn't have to see me if you didn't want to, but you'd be protected, and the babies would be protected." "What about my job?" I asked. "You can keep working if you want," he said, "or you can take time off. I'll make sure you don't have to worry about money." I shook my head. "This is insane." "This is survival," he said. "Emma, please." I looked at my babies, at their tiny fingers and peaceful faces. I thought about men with guns, about kidnapping, about all the dangers I couldn't protect them from alone. "Okay," I said quietly. "Okay." He looked relieved. "Thank you. But I have conditions," I said. "Name them." "I keep my independence," I said. "This isn't about us getting together or playing house. This is about the babies." "Agreed. And if I want to leave, I can leave." "Of course," he said, "though I hope you won't." "Why?" "Because those are my children too," he said, "and I want to know them." "Fair enough," I said. "When do we do this?" "As soon as you're discharged," he said. "I'll have everything arranged." 2 days later, I was discharged from the hospital. Gabriel sent a car, a black SUV with tinted windows and 2 men in suits up front. They helped me load the babies into car seats that were already installed. Everything was prepared. The drive took about 30 minutes. We went through downtown Miami, then into Coral Gables, through tree-lined streets with massive houses. Finally, we turned into a gated driveway. The gate opened, and we drove up to a house that looked more like a resort. It was enormous, white stucco with a red tile roof, surrounded by palm trees and tropical gardens. "This is where he lives?" I thought. The SUV stopped at the front entrance. The men helped me out and carried the babies in their car seats. A woman, probably in her 60s, was waiting at the door. "Ms. Rodriguez," she said with a warm smile. "I'm Rosa. I manage the household." "Nice to meet you," I said, feeling overwhelmed. "Let me show you to your suite," she said. We went inside, and I tried not to stare. Everything was expensive, marble floors, crystal chandeliers, art on the walls that probably cost more than I made in a year. Rosa led me up a curved staircase to the second floor. She opened a door at the end of the hallway. "This is your suite," she said. I walked in and couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was huge. A living room area with comfortable furniture and a large TV, a bedroom with a king bed, a bathroom with a soaking tub and walk-in shower, and connected to the bedroom was a nursery. A nursery that had already been set up with 2 cribs, a changing table, shelves full of diapers and supplies. Everything was done in soft yellows and greens, with painted murals of animals on the walls. "When did he do all this?" I asked. "Mr. Santos had it prepared over the past week," Rosa said. "He wanted to make sure everything was ready for the babies." I felt tears starting again. "It's beautiful." "I'm so glad you like it," Rosa said. "If you need anything at all, just press the button on the phone and someone will come. There's security throughout the house and on the grounds. You're completely safe here." "Thank you," I said. Rosa left and I stood there holding my sleeping babies, looking around at this perfect nursery in this perfect house. And I felt like I had made a deal with the devil. The first few weeks were strange. I saw Gabriel occasionally, in passing. He would stop by the nursery to see the babies, would hold them awkwardly like he wasn't sure what to do. He never stayed long. Rosa and the other staff helped me constantly. There was a night nurse who came to help with feedings, a chef who made me healthy meals, a housekeeper who did laundry and cleaned. It was like living in a luxury hotel. But I felt trapped. One evening, about 3 weeks after we moved in, Gabriel knocked on my door. "Come in," I said. He walked in wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I had never seen him so casual. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Sure." He sat down in the living room area and I sat across from him. "How are you adjusting?" he asked. "It's fine," I said. "The babies are doing well." "I know," he said. "I've been watching." "That's not creepy at all," I said. He smiled slightly. "I just mean I check on them when you're sleeping. With the night nurse." "Oh, I want to be involved, Emma," he said. "I want to be a father to them." "Okay," I said. "What does that look like to you?" "I don't know," he admitted. "I never thought I'd have kids. Never wanted them, really. My life isn't suited for it. But now that they're here..." He paused. "They're here," I finished. "Yes, and they're amazing." I felt something soften toward him. "You can spend time with them whenever you want," I said. "They're your children too." "Thank you," he said. We sat in silence for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Anything." "What exactly does your family do?" I asked. "You said it was dangerous, but you never explained what that means." He was quiet for a long time. "My family," he finally said, "has been in Miami for 3 generations. We started in shipping, legitimate cargo, but over time we expanded into other areas. Some legal, some not." "Like what?" "Import-export," he said. "Moving goods that other people can't or won't move." "You mean illegal goods?" "Sometimes," he said. "We also have investments in real estate, hospitality, various businesses. But yes, some of what we do operates in gray areas." "And the danger?" "There are other families," he said, "other organizations that want what we have. Territory, connections, power. Sometimes that leads to conflict." "You mean violence?" "Sometimes," he admitted. "Are we safe here?" I asked. "As safe as I can make you," he said. "This house has security cameras, alarms, guards. No one gets in without my permission." But there's always a risk," he said. "That's why I needed you here, so I could protect you." I looked toward the nursery where my babies were sleeping. "I made the right choice coming here," I said. "Even though it's not what I wanted." "You made the smart choice," he said. "And for what it's worth, I'm grateful." Over the next few months, Gabriel and I developed a routine. He would come to the nursery every morning before work to see the babies. He learned how to change diapers, how to burp them, how to soothe them when they cried. He was surprisingly good at it once he got past his initial awkwardness. We would sometimes have dinner together. Rosa would make something amazing, and we would sit in the dining room or on the patio and talk. About the babies, mostly. About their little milestones, Daniel's first smile, Sophia's first laugh. But we also talked about other things. About our lives before. About what we wanted for the future. I started to see him differently. Not as the stranger from the bar or the dangerous criminal, but as a person. Someone who was trying his best to navigate a complicated situation. Someone who clearly loved his children, even if he didn't always know how to show it. One night, when the babies were about 4 months old, Gabriel and I were sitting on the patio after dinner. It was warm and humid, the way Miami always is, with the sound of the ocean in the distance. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. "That night at the bar, meeting me?" I thought about it. "Sometimes," I said, "my life would be simpler if we hadn't met. But I wouldn't have Daniel and Sophia. So no, I don't regret it. Even though I pulled you into this world." "You didn't pull me," I said. "I chose to come here. For the babies. But still, I chose." He nodded. "You're a good mother, Emma." "Thank you," I said. "You're becoming a good father." He was surprised. "You think so?" "I see how you are with them," I said. "How patient you are, how much you care. That's what matters." "Thank you," he said quietly. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out. "Can I tell you something?" he said. "Of course." "I never thought I could have this," he said. "A family. People who depended on me for more than business. People who I cared about more than the money or the power. But now that I have it, I can't imagine going back." "What are you saying?" I asked. "I'm saying," he turned to look at me, "I know this arrangement was supposed to be temporary. You staying here for protection. But I don't want it to be temporary. What do you want?" I asked, my heart starting to race. "I want you to stay," he said. "Not because you have to, but because you want to. I want us to be a family. A real family." "Gabriel," I started. "I know you don't love me," he said. "I know this isn't a fairy tale. But we work well together. We're good partners in raising the kids. And I think maybe we could be more." I was quiet, trying to process what he was saying. "What if I said no?" I asked. "What if I wanted to leave?" "Then I wouldn't stop you," he said. "I'd make sure you and the babies were protected, but I wouldn't force you to stay. But I'm hoping you'll give this a chance. Give us a chance." I looked at him, really looked at him, at this man who had turned my life upside down, who had brought danger and chaos, but also security and care, who was offering me something I had never expected, a family. "Okay," I said. "Okay," he smiled. "Really? Really?" I said. "But I need time to figure out what this means, what we could be. Take all the time you need," he said. That was 6 months ago. Since then, Gabriel and I have grown closer. Not rushed, not forced, just natural. We spend our evenings together after the babies are asleep. We talk about everything. About his business, which I'm learning is more complicated than I realized. About my nursing career, which I've put on hold, but plan to return to eventually. About our families, about our dreams, about who we want to be. And slowly, I've fallen in love with him. Not the version of him from that night at the bar, but the real him. The man who reads bedtime stories to our babies in Spanish. The man who calls his mother every Sunday to tell her about her grandchildren. The man who is trying every day to be better than his family legacy. We haven't talked about marriage. We haven't talked about forever. But we don't need to. Because right now, this is enough. This life we're building together. This family. Last week, something happened that reminded me why we're here. Why Gabriel insisted on protection. I was in the nursery with the babies. It was mid-afternoon and they were playing on their activity mat. I heard voices outside, raised and angry. Then Rosa burst into the room. "Miss Rodriguez," she said, "you need to come with me now." "What's wrong?" "There's a situation," she said. "Security is handling it, but Mr. Santos wants you and the babies in the safe room." "Safe room?" I repeated. "Now," she said. She helped me gather the babies, and we went down a hallway to what looked like a regular closet. But when she pressed a hidden button, the back wall slid open, revealing a steel door. She entered a code and the door opened. Inside was a room about the size of my old apartment. There were supplies, food, water, beds, and monitors showing camera feeds from around the property. "Stay here," she said. "Don't open the door for anyone except Mr. Santos or myself." "What's happening?" I asked, feeling terrified. "I don't know yet," she said. "But you're safe here." She left, and the steel door closed behind her. I sat on one of the beds, holding my babies, looking at the monitors. On one screen, I could see the front gate. There were cars outside, 3 of them. Men were getting out, armed men. On another screen, I saw Gabriel's security team taking positions around the house. And on a third screen, I saw Gabriel himself standing at the front door talking to someone I couldn't see. I couldn't hear what was being said, but Gabriel looked calm, controlled. After about 20 minutes, which felt like hours, the men got back in their cars and left. The steel door opened and Gabriel came in. He looked tired, but unarmed. "Are you okay?" he asked, coming over to me. "I'm fine," I said. "What was that?" "A message," he said. "From people who aren't happy with a decision I made." "Are they gone?" "For now," he said. "But Emma, this is what I was talking about. This is why you're here. Because this is my world, and now it's yours too." I felt tears starting. "I don't know if I can do this," I said. "Live like this? Always waiting for the next threat?" "I know it's hard," he said. "But it's also why we have these precautions. You and the babies were never in real danger. The safe room is just a precaution." "What if something happens to you?" I asked. "What if they—" "I won't let them," he said. "I have too much to lose now." He sat next to me and put his arm around me. "We'll be okay," he said. "All of us." I leaned into him, wanting to believe that was true. That night, after the babies were asleep, Gabriel came to my room. "We need to talk," he said. "Okay," I said. He sat on the edge of the bed. "What happened today," he said, "can't happen again. I'm making changes, pulling back from some of the riskier aspects of the business, focusing on the legitimate operations." "Why?" "Because of you," he said. "Because of them." He gestured toward the nursery. "I can't keep putting my family at risk." "Is that possible?" I asked. "Can you just walk away?" "Not entirely," he said, "but I can minimize the danger, make things safer, and I'm going to." I felt relief wash over me. "Thank you." "I should have done it sooner," he said, "before you came here, before the babies were born. But I was too stubborn, too caught up in the power and the money." "What changed?" "You did," he said. "All of you. You made me see what really matters." He took my hand. "Emma, I love you. I have for months. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to pressure you. But after today, after almost losing this, I need you to know." I felt tears starting. "I love you too," I said. "You do?" "Yes," I said. "I didn't want to. I tried not to. But I do." He pulled me close and kissed me. It was different from that first night at his apartment. That had been about desire, about escape. This was about something deeper, about love and commitment and choosing each other. That night, everything changed between us. We became partners, not just in raising our children, but in building a life together. 3 months after that, Gabriel proposed. We were on the beach, the private beach behind the house. The babies were with Rosa, and we had snuck away for a few minutes alone. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. He got down on one knee in the sand. "Emma Rodriguez," he said, "you came into my life by accident, but loving you has been the most intentional thing I've ever done. You've made me better. You've given me a family I never knew I wanted. Will you marry me?" I said yes, without hesitation. We got married 2 months later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. My whole family came down from New York. My mother cried through the entire ceremony. My father, who hadn't spoken to me much since I got pregnant, hugged Gabriel and said, "Take care of my daughter." Gabriel's mother came too. I had been nervous to meet her, but she was warm and welcoming. She held the babies and cried and said they were the most beautiful grandchildren she had ever seen. We didn't have a honeymoon. We didn't need one, because every day felt like a gift, every day with our children, with each other. Now, 6 months after the wedding, I'm sitting in the nursery watching Daniel and Sophia play. They're almost 18 months old, walking, talking, getting into everything. Daniel has Gabriel's intensity. Sophia has my stubbornness. They're perfect. Gabriel comes in and sits next to me. "Hi," he says. "Hi. What are you thinking about?" "How we got here," I say. "From that night at the bar to this." He takes my hand. "Do you ever regret it?" he asks. "Not keeping your money that day at the hospital?" I smile. Best decision I ever made. Because it wasn't about money. It was never about money, he says. It was about protection. And love, I add. And family. He kisses me. Yeah. The babies toddle over, wanting attention. Gabriel picks up Daniel, and I pick up Sophia, and we sit there together on the floor. This family we've built from chaos and fear and unexpected pregnancy, this life we've created. Sometimes I think about that nurse at the hospital who asked what my babies' names were, who saw me alone and struggling and probably pitied me. I wonder what she would think if she saw me now, in this house, with this man, with this life I never planned but can't imagine living without. Because Gabriel was right that day when he pointed to the cribs. It wasn't about money. It was about protection. Protection that became love, love that became family, and family that became everything.